Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photography shopping live stream, where we go online together and look for deals. And as always, I try to find new and interesting products every week that are, good or great price. And if there's anything particularly on sale at a steep discount, and I did find one or two things this week. And it's always interesting to kind of see the trends. I've been doing it for a while now, and uh, right now there's a lot of camera gear on sale, like camera bodies, and a handful of lenses at a good deal. For example, OM Systems, the OM3 is, the lowest price I've ever seen, $16.99, and brand new with warranty. You can get it with the kit lens. It's called the 45 Pro, which I highly recommend. Uh, Comes in at $19.99. So you're getting the lens for just 300 more, and that's like a $600 lens, and $400, $500 used. It's a terrific lens. I think it's just perfect for the OM3. And then the outlet on eBay and that's where OM System sells all of their refurbished products. There's a lot of good deals there too, so we'll look into that. And probably links down below for the eBay outlet, so you can check out everything kind of all at once. But I'll point out a few really good deals that are kind of tempting me right now. Um, so we'll do that, and then also I want to look at some brand name bags versus the more generic or third-party brand bags. I'll talk about that, and I picked out some backpacks, some messenger bags, and uh, also some tripod ball heads and things. There's a new one here that's interesting, and a few lenses. So lots of stuff. I'm sorry, the sound is bad. Okay, hold on, let me fix that. Okay, that should be better. I'm sorry. Uh, um, I had the power source plugged in. Let me know how that sounds. Hopefully that sounds a lot better. Okay, yeah, really sorry about the sound. I hope that works. I did get a new mic. I am using the new mic, but I had it plugged in to charge. This mic was on sale for $79, a DJI, two mics. You got two wireless receivers and a single transmitter. And it was really, really a good deal. It's not at that deal anymore, I don't think. I'll double check, but um, and it lasts a good 8 to 10 hours. I've used it. Wouldn't say I used it all day, but I forgot to take it off, and it was still on after about 8 hours. But anyhow, and then as always, my disclosure is I am an affiliate for Amazon and B&H and eBay, so I will earn a commission if you decide to buy anything using my affiliate links down below. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it supports the work that I do here, and it's greatly appreciated. And I work hard to try to find some deals, because when I started out, I wasn't very proficient at deal shopping, right? And I bought a lot of things that I just paid too much for, or wasn't quite the right product, or that made a lot of mistakes. So that's why I have so much gear I don't use or I gave away. um, I wish there was more of you around here. I could give you some other stuff that's just kind of sitting around. But anyhow, let's see. I want to thank Glenn Davies. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I didn't have memberships for most of my YouTube, I only started it last year. I've been on for almost 9 years now, and a lot of you requested that I start one just because you wanted to show your support for the work that I do here. So thank you so much for that. And I just picked the lowest one, 99 cents. Uh, and Marcia, good morning. How are you? Yes, I am warming up best I can. My hands are still a bit cold. I don't know why. I turned the heat on, so we're 68, well, about 65 degrees right now. And good morning, Jeff. Good to see you as always. And John, good to see you. 12 inches of snow. Wow. We only got about 6 or 8 inches, but about an inch of that was ice on top. So, yeah, I can walk on it without sinking. But I did manage to clear my cars off and get my truck out to the driveway, but I didn't shovel the driveway because it was just ice. I can't do it. And I called a couple places, but they're booked. There's no way I'm going to get anybody out here to shovel or clear it. You really can't even shovel it. You need a plow to get the ice out, I think. And good morning, Robert. Good to see you. And Eric, good to see you. And a few things about sound here. I'll skip those. Marcia says, we're in Southeast Florida, have 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. Yeah, that's still cold. I prefer about mid 80s personally, but 50s much better than it is here right now. I don't think we're even up to 20 degrees yet. It got down to like 9 last night. And let's see. And it says, good sign. I'm seeing more and more people holding cameras in mainstream media advertising. Might be just a trend, but encouraging to see. Okay. Um, and Moxie says, I'm sorry, Heather. Heather says, I bought the SD cards. Haven't had a chance to use them yet. So I have been using, I do have that. I used it yesterday, some more. I cranked out another roughly 1,500 images, uh, using Pro Capture, high speed, SH2, and then just regular shots. And it's still performing well. It's buffering fine, clearing fine, no issues. I've taken it in and out of the camera several times now in this very dry area with static electricity. I try to be careful, but there's always a residual charge, in your body. And so far, no problems. Like I said, it's for $36. It's an amazing deal. I don't know why I'm showing you the camera, but this is the card. $36 for a 256 gig UHS-2 V60 card. It's still at that price right now. And I'm very happy with it so far. I can't speak to the long-term durability of the card because, there were a couple of reviews that said it failed after a few months or 6 months. But I looked at other brand name cards, ProGrade, SanDisk, you name it, right? And you can always find reviews like that. Don't buy, dies after, a couple of months. So I kind of take all of the reviews with a grain of salt, but my personal experience so far after using the card for a week or so, I'm not having any issues. And generally, every card I've ever bought, and I've bought, lots, right? Only one that's died on me so far, and a lot of these are like 10 years plus, probably 15 years old, is this one. You can see it's kind of beat up, but this is one of the first memory cards I ever bought, but it just won't read in the camera anymore. But to be fair, that thing's probably been through the wash cycle, washer and dryer a couple of times. Anywho, let's get to the deals. Um, okay, so I've already mentioned the OM3. This to me is, you know, if you don't mind the handling, I bought a little small grip for mine, but uh, this camera is really all about the styling, right? Because you can buy an OM1 Mark II for right now, it's actually about $400 more, even on sale. But you know, this I just love this camera. It's my go-to camera for everything. You know, it's basically flagship capability. I mean, we've all seen the reviews by now, I hope. But if you have any questions about that camera, if you're thinking about buying it now, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, so let's talk about some backpacks today a little bit. You know, I'm kind of a backpack snob also. I've tried a lot of different backpacks, reviewed a few, bought a few, and you know, the backpack is the kind of thing where, yeah, you're going to bring probably two camera bodies, a couple lenses, some flashes, maybe a couple of light stands. You know, you're going to pack this thing up. And, you know, it's not like an everyday thing. You don't go out every day with a backpack unless you're, you know, doing a camping trip or something. And a few things that are, you know, really important, I think, in a backpack is, you know, basically they're all weatherproof more or less. Your gear is going to be fine, uh, except maybe in the heaviest downpour where, you know, some bags are going to do better than others. But, uh, you know, you know, how many dividers does it come with? How much can it hold? How many pockets? Is it easy to open and close? Does it have a side pocket? How does it hold the tripod? What's the quality of the stitching of the straps attaching to the backpack itself? And you know, I like to look for little things like the little side zipper so you can access the gear without taking the backpack off. That's kind of a, you know, that's not as big a deal to me because I um I typically have the camera out when I'm walking with a backpack. And the only thing in the backpack is stuff I'm going to take out once I get on site to do something else. Um, and then little rubber feet on the bottom. How stable is it? Can you stand the backpack straight up without it tipping over? Or do you have to lay it down all the time? And does it open from the front or does it open from the back? Because if it opens from the front, meaning away from the back straps, then when you lay the backpack down, you have to lay it down pretty much on a clean surface. Otherwise, when you put the backpack on, you know, you're going to get all that dirt and mud or whatever back on your back. If it opens up from the back, then, you know, only the front side gets dirty. So that seems to be the preferred choice when it comes to backpacks, you know, whether they open from the back or from the front. Most people seem to like it when they open from the back. When they open from the front, usually you get additional uh, ways to access your gear. And typically, you know, these are backpacks that stand up, so you can just open them from the front and get your gear without having to lay the backpack down, right? Uh, so I would consider a front opening backpack better suited for like studio work. If you're going from one location to an event, you know, where you're indoors, then sometimes it makes sense to have a standing backpack with the opening in the front. But I'm kind of splitting hairs here. And if you look at the uh, backpacks I have here, this VSGO, this is one that VSGO sent me one of these, and it's a terrific backpack. Holds a ton of stuff. Uh, you know, lots of dividers, but it's so big for my Micro Four Thirds gear that I have to add a camera insert bag with additional dividers and things so I can carry, you know, the lenses and everything securely. So this is better suited for like full frame, DSLR, bigger cameras, bigger lenses. But for Micro Four Thirds, typically I pack in, let's see if they have a shot of the interior here. Typically I pack in a lot of flashes, like my 8200s, 8300s, because flashes are big. When you go to an event, you need to carry your bigger flashes typically. Um, and then I got pockets on both sides. Well, let me double check. This one, yeah, there's pockets on both sides, so I can put light stands on either side of this. And it does stand up on its own. And then the top compartment is pretty much an open area for you to, put larger items like this. Like typically I put my 8200s and flashes up here. And then I put my Godox V1s and, camera and lenses down in this area. But this is a very, very high quality backpack. Very durable, very thick, vinyl. They call it polyurethane or whatever. But it's very high quality backpack. And it rarely goes on sale. So if you need a larger backpack, this is a really good one to get. That said, Low Pro, no question about the quality. This is an amazing deal, $99 for this. And size-wise, it's just a little smaller, I think, than the 25-liter one that we just looked at, but not by much, right? This is probably about a 20-liter. Maybe a 22-liter. They don't really state the size. But it's a little smaller backpack, but it's going to be high quality. I don't really need to look at all the individual things. So for example, if you look at the handle here, you can see it has a cross stitching into the backpack itself rather than a single stitch across. So this is a sign of quality craftsmanship, right? Is the cross stitching of the handle. And then going down, they include a rain cover, which really is only good for heavy downpours, right? See if they show any other close-up type shots. There's the dimensions. Nice dividers inside with a mesh pocket. Just all around, really well-designed bag. The vinyl is going to be very high quality. And you can see it has sort of a hard shell on the bottom. So this should stand up pretty well, but it offers really nice protection down here. Gives the bag some rigidity to it, which again ultimately protects your gear even more. So definitely, and it's 1.4 kilos, so that's okay on weight. It's not going to be lightweight because of the materials used. But yeah, if you want a little bit smaller backpack, because the one I showed you, the VSGO, this is a pretty big backpack. I can pull it out and show you if you guys want, but this is a pretty substantial backpack. One thing I'll note on this one before we move on is right here, they have a handle in the back. I really love that handle because I can lay the backpack down in the trunk of my car, and then when I want to take it out, I can just pull it out by that handle, and it's so much easier. Just a small detail, but it's so much easier. Okay, now we have two bags here that are virtually identical. They're about the same size. One is on sale for $175. This is Wandered, very high, top end premium bag. And then we have Ben's Photo, right? For half the price, basically. So this is a knockoff of the Wandered. Now, what I like about this bag, a friend of mine has this bag, and we've gone out together a few times, and I've had to handle this bag myself, is the very, very thin profile, right? Uh, because when you lay your things down in flat, they don't really need to be this tall. A lot of backpacks, I need to adjust my camera a little bit. A lot of backpacks, they're pretty thick, right? And a lot bigger, and your gear may not be quite as secure when the bag is so big, right? And that, like my 25-liter backpack, like I said, I have to add an insert to secure my gear even more. But this bag, I don't have to do that because the profile is kind of low or thin, and it just makes for a more comfortable backpack overall, and it makes holding your gear more secure. So I really, really like this design. Then it has the roll top on the top, so you can stuff miscellaneous things in here, like maybe a light jacket, maybe your lunch, maybe additional camera gear, right? Like an 8200, an 8300 will fit up there nicely. So it's expandable in a way that's very practical. Uh, so this is a wonderful bag, and I think for the price that they're asking here, that's very fair price. And I like this color too, this tan color. But it comes in a couple other colors at the same price. And you can go bigger and bigger if you want, but I think the 21 liter is about the right size. If you're going to get a bigger bag than 20, 25 liters, you really need to get a totally different type of backpack that has a proper waist mounting system, because you want to get the weight off of your shoulders. Because if you're carrying 31 liters worth of gear, it's heavy, and your shoulders are going to be worn out within the hour. But a 21 liter, 20 to 21 to 25 liter, you can kind of get away with just straps on your shoulders. Just don't overstuff it. But uh, I really, really like this design. If I didn't already have, like 5 backpacks, I would get this. uh, but that said, it's not cheap, right? So here comes Best in Photo, and $89. Basically the same design, right? We have the roll top, we have the thin profile, and straps all the way around to carry things 10 different ways. Even a side strap. They make it look huge here. It's not quite that big, but this one is just a hair thicker than the Wandered version. So you can fit taller things in. I mean, 7-inch is in practice, well, in real life, it's not quite this thick because the bag doesn't have the rigidity of other backpacks that are the same depth. But again, you have several pockets here for carrying various, iPads and stuff. Lots of dividers, side pocket, and again, all the different straps to carry your gear multiple different ways, like they demonstrate here. So I think this would be a great alternative for half the price. And I'm a big fan of this design. I'm so tempted myself to get one just because I like this color and because of the functionality. Now, there will be some compromises in quality, obviously. The mantra, you get what you pay for, always applies. But I think, you know, you're not going to have any issues with this bag, right? The overall quality is going to be very good and should last you for years without any issues. Okay, and then here's one from K&F Concepts. About the same price, $89. There's a $10 coupon, so you can save another $20 and get the K&F version. This is going to be very similar to the Best in Photo in terms of functionality and design. But this one is a little bit thicker even than the Benz Photo because it's expandable to some extent, as you can see here. So this offers a little more versatility, but it's going to be thicker, right? Because if we go back to the original Wander design, I don't know if they give the dimensions here. See, this is 6.5 inches in depth, so it's just a little over a half inch thinner, but it's very noticeable in real life. You can see the difference. Um, but the K&F Concepts one, I guarantee this is probably even thicker. 30. This one is. They don't really show the width. Turn this off. I use this coupon thing sometimes, but um, 27 by 16. Oh, external 17 centimeters. So 17, 6.5. So this one is actually, when it's all zipped up, it's actually about the same profile as the Wander. But this one is expandable because it has that zippered front with the expansion part. So this is another good alternative, but it only comes in black. And the roll top on the top is also taller. So it's more appropriate for clothing and things, but I like the other two bags because the roll top's not quite as tall, so it's less to roll up. Because I don't normally need to carry something like that, right? I just having a kind of a free open area of about 6 or 8 inches is good enough. This looks like it's kind of tall. But again, it's expandable, gives you some options, and it's $20 cheaper than the Benz Photo. Okay, now moving on to more traditional backpacks. This is a pretty large backpack. This is going to be closer to the 25-liter size. I don't know if they stated or not. Yeah, they do right here, 25-liter. But what's different about this, it's right now it's on sale for about more than half the price of the VSGO that I talked about. But this is going to be almost the same quality, hold just as much stuff. But the key advantage to this one, besides the price, is it has a very rigid frame. So this is going to offer really, really good protection because this little L shape here, this is a rigid frame. So it's going to stand up very nicely, on its own, and also offer really, really, really good protection. So if you drop your bag, you know, off a tape, off a rock or something, this is going to protect your bag more or protect your gear more than a soft case, right? Because your gear is surrounded by this sort of frame. So I like this, $79 or $80 with the coupon. So don't forget to check the coupons here when you guys buy this stuff. So I like this, and it's very versatile. Has a free open compartment on the top, front zipper. So this opens from the front, but as you can see, they added that rigidity so that it'll stand up on its front as well. And when you open up the flap in the front, and a nice big side pocket. Oh, that's nice. But anyhow, when you open it up from the front, you can use this little area here that's open as like a tray to lay your gear down and organize things or mount things, So you don't have to put your gear on the ground while you're sorting things, right? You can just do that. And this also has zippered pockets on both sides. It has pockets on both sides, so you can carry 2 tripods, 2 light stands, whatever. Very versatile. Really nice, big, large, open compartment in the top. And again, it's all in this rigid hard shell, semi-hard shell type casing. Okay, but for what's this going to work out to? Like 80 bucks for this one. Excellent backpack for 80 bucks. Uh, you know, it's going to be a little thicker because it's not quite as tall as the VSGO. But the main thing is that it's a lot cheaper, right? And I think it's going to be very, very similar quality. All right, now moving on to this backpack. This is a steal. $44 basically. Uh and this is a canvas material instead of vinyl. You know, canvas materials is not as protective. You know, it can get wet, of course, but uh it's going to be fine for just light rain. But these are just much more comfortable to carry and handle, right? And they're going to be very durable. I really like this backpack. Again, this would be a backpack I would buy today if I didn't already have 5 or 6 backpacks. But lots of nice compartments. K&F is really good about giving you plenty of dividers, and it's well designed. I like everything about this backpack. Okay. And then this is another K&F one. This is actually a hard shell, right? Very hard shell in the front, the top, very rigid. Right in the same price point for this one is $79. K&F, again, plenty of compartments and zippers. They do a really good job designing their backpacks. This also opens from the front, but again, because it's rigid, it stands up on its front, so you can get the gear out. And then you can use the front area here as just a little tray to, you know, organize your lenses without putting your gear on the ground. So lots of good stuff uh, about this backpack. I love all the mesh pockets everywhere. You know, sorting cables and batteries and filters. You know, whatever, all kinds of things. So there's some great options for backpacks, okay? And then we'll talk about messenger bags. But I would say, you know, there's something here for all your budgets and styles. You know, I would go for the Ben's Photo here or the KNF Concepts. And then if you want to go a little bit higher end, right now the Low Pro looks like the best deal for $99. So, and if you need maximum space, the VSGO is excellent, and this KNF Concepts with the frame, right? The hard frame here are probably your best bets, in my opinion. But this hard shell will give you the ultimate protection. So if you drop it off a cliff, you know, your gear will probably be okay. And it's a little smaller, 20 liters, versus this is a 25 liter. Uh, so I think dollar for dollar, I'd still go for the, yeah, it depends. If you don't need 25 liters, that's pretty big. Either way, so there's kind of something there for everyone at really good pricing. There are backpacks in the $30 range, $35 range. Those are generally going to be smaller than all of these. Those are going to be like 16-liter size backpacks. And when you get down closer to 10 or 16 liters, I'm thinking you might as well use a messenger bag or a sling bag, right? But okay, let me go to the chat real quick. I think I saw a couple of questions. So Henning, good to see you. And Dan, good to see you. 15. Wow, 15 inches. That's shocking. And good morning. Yes. Oh, wow, it's in the 30s where you are. Wow, that's cold for Florida, man. And Have you covered magnetic ND filters? I'm ready to ditch screw-on threads for something that won't constantly jam. Uh, I'm trying to find a good magnetic system. K&F, I think, makes really good ones, and also newer, right? I did look at a couple this morning, but they just weren't on sale. But uh, let me say that the magnet holds really well. No issues with the magnetic system. You know, the filter's not going to fall off while you're walking around. If you bump the camera, it could knock the filter off, though. I will say that, where I've seen, like, if you're walking and your camera bumps against a tree or snags on a bush, you know, on the lens side of it, of your camera, it could knock the filter off. So be conscious of that. But just walking around, running even, the 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 filter's going to stay on no problem. Another area you need to be careful with magnetic filters is when you're pushing your lens through a fence, right? When you pull the camera out, you know, whether, and I'm not talking about a chain link fence, right? But like you're like straight fences. Uh, Sometimes when you take the camera away or you're adjusting, you can knock the filter off against the fence. So just be very careful of physically bumping the front of the lens with a magnetic filter, because I've seen a friend drop their filter into the water. It was like $100 filter is gone because he was poking through the railing, and then when he pulled his camera out, it rubbed against the side and he lost his filter. But let me show you a couple of options. And so, you know, the best way to get these is something like this, right? You want to get the size that you need. K&F is one of the best, and you need to consider um, this is a good deal, but that's a 49 millimeter. So it depends on what size you need. 58 millimeters. So let's look at this one real quick. I've seen this for as low as 20, like half this price. Like there's a price history button somewhere, right? This is the kind of thing you have to wait till it goes on sale. This thing was $36 and then it was on sale for like another $10 off uh, sometime last year. But you can see since mid-December, prices have not come down. And I'm not sure that they will. I mean normally they go on sale every other week, but I'm not seeing jack on filters lately going on sale. Uh, but look at these filter sets where you can get multiple types of filters. You know, I don't really care about the UV filters so much, but I like ND filters, solid ND filters, because you can stack them and get additional light reduction. And then also you want to make sure they include like a circular polarizer. This one has a black diffusion filter. That's for getting, you know, softening the image a little bit. I'd rather have like a CPL with uh, solid ND filters. So this is one option. Let's see if they have the K&F. It comes with CPL and variable NDs. This is a good set, but it's expensive, right? But this is, of course, very high quality optics. I've reviewed one of their magnetic filter systems, and well, no, I didn't review it. Sorry, I have one of their magnetic filter systems, and but I have reviewed filters from K&F, and the optics are excellent. And this never really goes on sale for much more than 10% off. So if you want to go with K&F and you want to make sure it's the Nano X series, they have a bunch of different series. You want to get the Nano X series. But this comes with variable ND filters, a diffusion filter, and a CPL. I don't know why diffusion filters are a big deal now. I'm seeing them everywhere in all these kits now. And it's available in different sizes. I don't see one that's more micro four thirds friendly. See this set here, this is 20% off on checkout. But again, this is not, I just don't know if this is going to come down in price, because I know these have sold for much less last year, $36 last year. But again, since mid-December, nothing, right? So I don't know if we need to wait on this. But again, diffusion filter, some solid ND filters, and that's it. But good quality. I know a friend that has this set exactly. They bought it off my recommendation back when it was $36, and she shoots with a Canon R5 Mark II, high resolution. I didn't see any loss in image quality. So these are the two brands I would recommend, are the Newers and the K&Fs. Now you can go really high end with Freewell and some other things. They have slightly different sort of, they're not that different, but I don't see a reason to pay more for the Freewells, etc. Here's a small rig kit. This has a CPL, a black mist, and a variable ND. You just have to be careful with the variable NDs because some of them have color shift. So that's why I like solid ND filters, because then you don't have to worry about the color shift quite as much. Variable NDs inherently will always give you some color shift. But okay, that's all I know about ND filters. They all have coatings and everything for scratch, water, all of that stuff. But you know, on the Newers and the K&Fs. But okay, the only reason I think someone might pay more for the Freewells, and there's another brand out there that's pretty pricey, is there's a certain amount of reflectivity that you have to be a little careful with on lower end filters. The K&Fs you don't have to worry, and not so much the Newers, but I did notice it on the Newers. You know, if you're shooting directly into the sun, you can get a little reflection between the filter and the lens, like a little flaring. So it's not quite as coated quite as well as these higher end filters. But that's, you know, that's what people pay top dollar for, right? Is they want the very best anti-reflective coatings. And, you know, sometimes they make the rings out of brass. Well, those are the threaded mount ones. These magnetic ones I don't think are brass. But anyhow, because brass wouldn't be magnetic, I don't think. But the, you know, the screw type filters, you know, you're paying for the brass, you're paying for the anti-reflective coating. Okay, hopefully that helps, gives you some guidance when you start looking at magnetic filters. Those are the two brands I recommend, and I don't see a need to spend more than what they're offering, and hopefully they'll go on sale. If you can wait, I would see if they go on sale. But right now they have, and if they do go on sale, I'm going to feature them here on my live stream, but I just haven't seen any on sale lately. Okay. You keep waiting for a fail since 2005, but none. Yeah. I'm sure I have memory cards older than 2000, you know, at probably the same age, but I have had that one card fail, and I've had a couple other cards that are kind of flaky. And Dave says camera bags in the UK tend to be expensive. Range selection is somewhat limited. Amazon has a good selection. Weather here is 48 degrees Fahrenheit, very dull, overcast. Had over a week of rain. Yeah, it's the UK, right? It always rains there. And Heather says, so funny, you make me want that camera, and I really don't have use since I have the OM1 Mark II and don't do that much street and landscape. You just love it so much, I think I must need You don't need it, Heather. Uh, what are you gonna? I mean, if you want a backup camera, I don't know. And it's not just street landscape. I do all my birding with it. I do everything with that camera, not just street landscape. I do everything. But you definitely don't need it. And Amazon UK had the PNY 256 V60 UHS2 SD card on Prime Day last year for 20. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Prime Day was killer. There was some really good deals that day. But I haven't seen jack. Memory cards have spiked. Everything is now double that price, except for the one that I just showed you early in the stream. Everything else is doubled in price, so I'm thinking about getting a second one. It's such a good deal. And have a couple of old low pro bags. Yep. Yeah, I still use my low pro that I bought, one of my very first, if not the first, camera messenger bag I ever bought. It was $50 back in 2013. So what's that, like $100 for a little bag? Now I would never do that again. But that said, if you divide out that bag over time, it really didn't cost very much at all, right? Because it's just lasted forever. And Gordon says, want something for one Q3 and a few personal items, wallet, phone, etc. Okay. I'm not sure exactly what, if you're talking about the Leica Q3, the only thing you can get for that is maybe a case and some filters. And Marco's here. Good to see you, Marco. And Heather says, what about the weight between backpacks of the same size? I wouldn't worry about it. If one backpack is heavier than another and they're the same size, there's usually a reason, right? Like I said, they might have a frame inside. They might use thicker padding, thicker vinyl, or thicker canvas. And when it's on your back, with shoulder straps, the difference in weight is pretty minuscule. I mean, there are some super light backpacks that are closer to like 1 kilo instead of 1.4 kilos. But there's always compromises, right? In the rigidity, in the durability, etc. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I wouldn't worry between a 1 or 1.4. And when you get to the larger backpacks, they can be like 2 kilos. But you're carrying more stuff. The backpack itself is there's always a reason when it comes to weight. It's usually the materials that they use, the quality of the materials and the stitching. All of this adds weight because they a lot of times they double layer things sometimes that makes the backpack heavier, right? So I don't consider weight a lot when I look at backpacks. I look at the quality of the materials, the stitching, and the versatility in terms of, the overall design. Did they put a lot of pockets? Do they have mesh pockets? Do they have double layer pockets? Do they have zippers in the front, the sides? How many straps does it have? You kind of look at all these things. So you want to get a backpack, you want to focus on the functionality, right? Say versus the weight. And Zoltan is here. Good to see you. And Chuck says, filters always seem like much of a hassle. I suppose I'm missing out on some interesting images. So yeah, there's creative filters, right? Like I like to use my starburst filters, my swirly filters, my kaleidoscope filters, just for fun, right? But I only buy them on sale. There is one or two filters on sale that are kind of fancy. Uh, I would never pay regular price for something I just use once in a blue moon, but have fun when I do. The other kind of filters, I would say definitely you want to get polarizer at the very least. Polarizer can really add a lot of pop to your images, good contrast, particularly like in what, seascapes and anywhere like lakes and streams. These kind of shots, waterfalls, a polarizer makes a pretty dramatic difference in the quality of the image. That's very difficult, if not impossible, to reproduce in post-processing. Uh, the ND filters, whether it's a graduated ND, which mostly videographers use, but solid NDs, this is for long exposure photography, right? So if you want to slow down your shutter speed for smoother waterfalls, or if you want to do live composite in the daytime, you can get some interesting shots. Just if you want to experiment. Like I said, I think in your case, you want to only buy the filters when they're on sale because it doesn't sound like you're going to use them very much. Because I would say I'm about 50-50. 50% of the time I have no filter, specifically because I'm in low light. The filters, whether it's a CPL or obviously an ND filter, I don't want to cut the light going to the sensor. I want the maximum amount of light. I don't use any filters in birding, but I do use filters a lot for just about everything else. CPL almost always glued to my camera. Like this is one that I use all the time. This is a newer, right? Yeah, the newer that I use on my 12 to 45 Pro, but I was doing birding, right? So I didn't need this filter. Or I was doing flash photography where I don't want to use a filter because I was indoors in a studio, all of that. But ND filters can be very useful for flash photography outdoors because you can cut the light and get the camera's sync speed to match the flash's sync speed. And high speed sync has very limited use on most flashes. If you have very powerful flashes, then high speed sync can be very useful. But for these little, you know, ones that you mount on top of your camera, I don't recommend using high speed sync. They're just not powerful enough. But so in those cases, you will definitely get more light and more output by using an ND filter and using the flash than you will using high speed sync. And Katzen says, I need 77 and 95. Oh, there are some 77 millimeters on sale. I didn't look at 95. Uh, I didn't include those in my deal page because typically those are like full frame type lenses, right? But I'll add them to my deal page here real quick. A couple of variations. I did find some on sale. Hopefully I can find them very quickly here. And okay, this is a good set. So I'm going to add this to my deal page and I'll come back. The 95 is also on sale. I'll pull the screen up here in a second. Let me just add these real quick. And then let's see, one more. Yeah, the one we were just looking at, actually, the variable ND. I add this. They don't have a 95 for this one, but mm, this one is okay. This is not a super deal, but K&F never goes on sale like 20-30% off. They're always like 10% off, and it's 10% right now. All right. So here's a quick, so here's a 77. And we'll look at this one, and this one, and this one. So 10-11% off on the K&Fs. There's some other sizes here on sale. The 95 is not on sale on this set. But this has solid ND filters, a lens cap, and a CPL. This is the bare minimum as far as filters go. If you're going to buy filters for your camera, this is the bare minimum. Okay, this is another set. It's a little more specialized. CPL, variable ND, lens cap, and diffusion filter. $141. So the variable ND is more useful for video, but it works just as well for photography, but you only go up to ND32 here. So it's more of a video type filter. And it comes with the case. The case is pretty nice. And then this one here is available in 95. This one is just a CPL and an ND1000. Looks like a UV and then the magnetic ring. So the ND1000 is pretty powerful ND filter in that you would use this for, like, if it's pretty bright day and you want to do long exposure. You could even potentially use this for live comp during the day, right? And get some really interesting cloud trails using long exposure during the day with a 10-stop ND filter. Now, you're not going to shoot into the sun with this and get sun shots, but I use the ND1000 filter time to time, not very often. I can usually kind of get away with just regular, like, lower power ND filter and the ND filter, the digital ND built into our cameras for OM Systems Olympus. But an ND1000 definitely has its uses. So if you don't need an ND filter, you can definitely use an ND1000 anytime. But it has its uses as well. And that's all I could find. So hopefully they're all the magnetic sets. I didn't see any of the regular screw-in type. Let me just look one more time. Yeah, it's not on sale. But here's one from Newer. It's only 5% off. They have it in 77 and 95, and it has a relatively weak ND filter and a CPL. So if you just need a CPL and weak ND filter, and by weak, I don't mean it's bad, it's just not very dark. This is an option. I would probably wait till this goes on sale, because a regular screw-in filter set like this, God, this used to sell for a lot less. What's the price history look like? If we go to the 90-day, it's been as low as about 20. Looks like it's been as low as $26. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes on sale again for like $26 or at least $30. You should be able to get $10 off this set. It should not be. I wouldn't pay 40. Yeah, there's just nothing, none of the regular screw-in sets. Here's an ND filter set. This is okay. 77 millimeter. This is a little bit more for fine tuning your ND because it has UV, CPL, fluorescent, up to ND8. That's not a bad price. Comes with a couple of cases and a lens hood. But I don't think these are Newer's best quality filters. So I'm not going to recommend this one. By that I mean it's not going to have good coatings and you're going to get probably some reflections and things. But yeah, all these things. Here's an Altura. Same idea. I wouldn't recommend that one. Although I did buy this. I bought this in August. It works well. I'll add this. It's not bad. I do use it. So the 77 or the 72 and the 95 are both on sale. I forget if you needed 77.95. If you needed these two, they're both on sale. That's a reasonable price. Let me see what I paid for this. I paid $25.49 for the 77. So I paid $25.40. So right now it's about, $5 more than what I paid. So it's a fair deal. Okay. Friend just sent me B&H link for a Ricoh GR4 monochrome 2200. I know. That's too much. That's just way too much. You're better off buying a used K3 monochrome. I know it's apples and oranges. K3 monochrome is a big, heavy-ass camera. But you could buy a K3 monochrome for about $1,500 used. And then a couple lenses for it and still be at around $2,200. The GR4, great little camera, but man, $2,200. I don't know, especially when 9 times out of 10, it's very hard to tell in a blind test the difference between, a monochrome camera and a color camera that's just been converted. There is a difference, but it's virtually impossible to tell, at least to my eye. Your first little low probe was a gateway drug for all the others. Yep. And Fade and Rice says, hello, Rob. What focal length do you recommend for astrophotography? Would manual focus work better? So that's it depends. If you want to do wide field, there's wide field and deep sky, right? Wide field is like Milky Way, auroras, where you want to capture typically the landscape together with the Milky Way going over. That kind of astrophotography, if we're talking about micro four thirds, you want to be probably 10 millimeters or wider. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. The wider, the better for that kind of astrophotography. Even a 4 millimeter circular fisheye is great for doing astrophotography, but the quality of those lenses are not as good as, say, the 6, 7, 8, 9. So great lens is the 8 millimeter fisheye Pro, awesome for astrophotography. The 9 millimeter Panasonic Lumix, awesome for astrophotography because they're both very sharp, excellent, optically excellent, and also if you're using OM systems, you can take advantage of, if you have the camera that supports it, take advantage of Starry Sky AF. So you don't have to worry about autofocus. I'm sorry about Ellie. I think they're shoveling or something out front, the snow. Let me close the door. That might help. Ellie, it's all right. Okay. Um, but there was one other thing I was going to mention. I can't. I lost my train of thought because of Ellie. Okay, so that's the 8 and the 9 millimeters, right? With autofocus. You won't get Starry Sky F, I think. I don't think you can get that with the Panasonic Leica, so you have to manually focus. Those are two really good options. If you want to go a little bit wider, the 6 millimeter from Seven Artisans that I just reviewed is really good. And, but I'm sorry, I now remember. The 8 and the 9 millimeter, they're very fast. 1.8, f1.8, f1.7, something like that, right? So you can use longer exposures without getting, uh, or you can get more light in without getting eggshells in your stars. And you can go a little bit longer because the eggshells will be smaller, right? Because it's wide. So those are really good options. And then the 6 and there's some 7 millimeter ones out there. They're all f2.8s, I believe. There might be an f2 in there. You want to look for those. Laowa and Seven Artisans have really good options in the 6 and 7 millimeter range. Any one of those will be fine. I think there's a Laowa 6 or 7 millimeter f2. That's a really good lens, but they're manual focus. Now the question between autofocus and manual focus, it doesn't matter, right? I would say manually focusing for astro, like wide field astro, it's not a big deal. You just punch in the magnify, find the brightest star, and then just manually focus until that is as sharp as possible, and you're good to go. So having the Starry Sky AF is awesome in our cameras. It simplifies things really because you don't have to guess that if you got it sharp, because sometimes it is a hassle, right, to get perfect focus. But there are tools available. They call it a Bahtinov filter. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, to help you manually focus. Let me see. Uh, yeah, one of these things. These things are useful for helping you get manually focused because it creates it exaggerates and creates distortions in the stars like this. So when you're trying to manually focus, you just line things up so that they're perfect. So this makes it 10 times easier if you get one of these. So if you're going to be doing wide field astro a lot, it might be worth getting one of these. If you're only going to do it time to time, then you can just manually do it. You'll be fine. So just take note of that. The name of this, Bahtinov, right? Mask. Uh, that one looks like somebody just 3D printed it. But they have a lot of versions of this, variations of this. Here's one from Case. This is a square filter system. Okay. For deep sky astro, it's going to make a big difference what you're trying to capture. If you're trying to capture wider or bigger objects, like the Nebula Horsehead together with the Orion, like if you want to capture that whole thing, then I would say on Micro Four Thirds, the 300 millimeter would work. For other things, you might want to get the 75 millimeter lens. And for really deep sky type things, the longer the better. At that point, you should start thinking about it, actually getting a telescope set up with, getting a full-on astrophotography setup. Because when you start taking photos of things like that, you have to get a tracker, and some people like to computerize the whole thing and bring their laptop and do everything. You can get kind of carried away with it. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. There's a big learning curve to it. Um, so I would talk to somebody that's really in astrophotography to give you guidance on deep sky astro. But the deep sky astro that I've done, like, I did Andromeda Galaxy, I did the Nebula, I did Orion. These things I was able to do with just my 300 millimeter f4. So that would be the perfect lens for that kind of astrophotography. And Heather says I was someone having problems with focusing and ended up being their filter causing the problem. Yes. Uh, I've heard that too, particularly ND filters, because it's cutting the light to the camera, which thereby would cut light to the autofocusing system, and it's going to struggle, especially in low light. So that's why a lot of times if I'm in low light, I take the filter off because it will hurt the focusing. Did I pre-order the GR monochrome? I did not. That's just way too much money. And I have a Pentax K3 monochrome. So I don't need one because I already have one. I have a monochrome camera. And the biggest deal breaker for me on the GR series in general is just no EVF. I really want an EVF in all my cameras. Uh, there's exceptions, of course, like my TG5, but that's a different camera. No EVF, that's number one. Number two is fixed focal length. It's locked in, I think it's 28 millimeters or equivalent thereof, which is fine. In fact, I really like that focal length, but it's too limiting. Like I just did a few shots yesterday, um, or the day before, with my monochrome camera. This is my K3 monochrome. 50 millimeter. What lens did I use? Yeah, the 50 millimeter. This would be a tough shot to get with a GR4, but I can do that because I can swap lenses. I can take these kinds of pictures. You know, um, and then another shot is this one. This is my backyard after the snow. I'm using my 8 millimeter lens here, super wide. You just can't do things like this with a. If I'm gonna get, so I really like interchangeable lens cameras, or at least if it had a zoom on it, I might consider it. But it's a fixed focal length, so that's a problem. I don't think I own any fixed focal length cameras, come to think of it. But yeah, I like the flexibility of either a zoom or interchangeable lenses, and I really, really want an EVF. Uh, it's not a deal breaker if the camera doesn't have it, but it's definitely a problem. If there's something available that does have an EVF, I'll probably get that over the GR4. And 24 inches of snow. Oh my God. Oh, I couldn't imagine. Could not imagine that. Okay. Let's talk about a couple other things here. Um, Let me close all these down. So we just finished the backpacks. Okay, $15. This is a really good sling bag. Okay, you can get it in black for $5 more, but if you're really on a budget, you can get this one for 15 or $20. This is a good deal. Whether it's on sale or not, this is a good deal at 15 or $20. Plenty of pockets, zippers. It's a decent size, has a really nice, you know, front pocket, rear pocket. The strap is stitched into the bag. This has everything I would look for in a messenger bag. or sling bag as they call it. So if you need a budget sling bag, I can recommend this one, no problem. Tripod straps on the bottom are less useful. Uh, this one doesn't have a locking system, so I find that without a locking system on the straps, they tend to come loose as you're walking around. But everything else about the bag is perfect. Here's another one, $14. Again, this bag, if you were to buy it in black, it's normally $33. It's now $23. But if you want to get this like beige color, I think this is that's a nice looking bag, even in this color. $13.99. And it has very functional, right? Everything I would look for in a bag. With the one exception is the strap is replaceable. So it has one of those hook loop type, or not hook loop, but uh, hook clip type straps. I'm not a big fan of this because the clip itself is plastic. If I had this bag, I would probably replace it with another strap that has metal hooks. But the plastic ones are fine. I got a couple of bags that have plastic hooks. They've never broken on me, but my peace of mind, I would rather have metal straps. But it's only $14 and it's going to be fine. So, and it comes with a rain cover and it's really well designed. Front and rear pockets, plenty of mesh pockets on the side, and plenty of space inside for like an everyday bag. Okay, this bag is, you can see this. This is another bag I bought. I bought this bag after I bought my low pro bag because the low pro bag I bought was kind of small. $22.99. That is less than what I paid for it back in 2014. I don't know why this is on sale for so cheap because if you go down, uh, the same bag here, this is the same bag for $33 from Amazon. The only thing I can see is that this has a gray interior and this one has an orange interior. This is the one that I have. And in fact, this has the same plastic hook clips here. They haven't broken on me yet, but I guess that's to be expected at this price point. They seem to work fine. But yeah, this bag, I use it now mostly for storage. I don't use it. What I don't like about this bag at this point is it's kind of thick, right? It's deep. It makes it easier to get gear in and out because everything is right there. And this is an extremely popular bag. So many people love this bag. It has these side pockets here, right? It doesn't have mesh pockets on the side, so you can't like put your soda bottle or anything on the side. But it has these zipper pockets. These are great for putting your batteries and flash triggers and stuff like that in the sides because those are kind of bulky items that don't really fit inside the bag quite as comfortably, right? So I like this bag. It has a mesh pocket on the top. And then also they don't show it here. I should get mine out. Let me pull it out. It's right here. Um, yeah, you can see I probably used a different strap with this, or did I put it inside? But here it is. I even added another divider. I think I can use this in one of my other backpacks. This is it here. Uh, but the top comes loose like this, right? And you can zipper the top separately if you want. I never did, but anyway, this zipper's all the way around. And there's little Velcro patches here so that it sticks to the top. So when you open up the bag, if you don't have it zippered, it just comes up. But yeah, this bag was good to me for many years, and then I stopped using it. I don't know why. I just felt it was a little bit thick this way, right? I wanted a slimmer profile bag. But I loved this bag when I used it. And the tripod straps, you know, I ended up cutting these off actually. Yeah, I cut them off. Because they would just come loose. There was tripod straps here on the bottom. I cut those off. Because half the time the tripod was bouncing, you know, hitting me on my hip or butt. And then they would just come loose as I'm walking around. So I actually cut them off. This has nice little feet on the bottom too. So it protects the bottom of the bag a little better. And a good handle on top, zipper pocket in the back. It's a great bag. So if you don't mind the thickness a little bit, it holds a lot of stuff. Let me tell you, this holds a lot of stuff, and it comes with a lot of dividers, kind of cheapo dividers and stuff. I mean, it's $22 bag now. It's not bad. The canvas material and everything is really good quality. So it's really a good quality bag for the money. Oops. All right. So if you don't mind the orange interior, and you know, it's fine. I like the orange interior because it's easier to see the dirt and things in there. So it lets me know I need to clean my bag. Uh, this bag, I'm only putting this up here just out of a curiosity that this is a hard shell case. It's not really a carry bag. It comes with a strap. But this looks more useful as an insert for a backpack. So if you have a backpack now that is not a camera backpack, you can just get this and put it inside your backpack, right? So that's the only reason I would consider this. I did like that it had all these little pockets for filters. You know, that always interests me, right? Although I carry my filters, you know, in these pouches mostly. But it's nice that it's right here. Gives you easy access to your filters. It has a mesh pocket on top for cables and other loose items. And it's a pretty decent size. So I wouldn't buy this as a carry bag, but I would probably definitely consider this as an insert for a backpack that I already have. Um, and then there's some half leather cases here. Okay, let's talk about the tripods and monopods. This is one of the very best monopods out there. Carbon fiber, rapid release, converts into a tabletop tripod, you know, right here very quickly. I have the aluminum version of this, and it's awesome. It's an awesome, awesome monopod, you know, with the feet. So if you want an excellent tripod for an amazing price, this used to sell for $300, but the price is now half that, and now it's on sale for $128. This is hard to beat. You're not going to find a better quality monopod at this price. Not even close. Gimbals, if you buy that monopod and you use heavy lenses like the 150 to 600, Olympus or Panasonic, or not Panasonic, but Sigma, This is a good deal. It's with the coupon, it's $55. This is really, really useful for birding. Because what you do, they show it here. You mount your camera this way, and you can rotate, obviously, if you have a lens collar, you can rotate your camera vertical or horizontal. But this is really, really useful. I use it time to time, but I find that my 300 f4 Pro is not that heavy, so I don't really use it as much as I thought I would. But if you have a big ass lens, this is very, very useful for birding. And then Wellian is a good brand for components. This is another interesting ball head. I really like inverted ball head design because it allows me to level the camera, but then the rotation is separate, right? So I can rotate on the top separate from the leveling. So it's really, I love to do panoramas. So this is a great panorama ball head. And it has a 40 millimeter ball head, so it'll hold a lot of weight. 40 millimeters is pretty big for a ball head. Standard Arca Swiss quick release, $45 with the coupon. It's not at a particularly strong discount, but it's a good price and it's a really excellent in terms of functionality. And doing panoramas. This is really good. Now, if you want to do multi-row panoramas, this is not the ideal ball head. But for single row panoramas, this is really an amazing, amazing. This will make things so much better. Things will stitch better, etc., etc. You need to get a nodal rail, and if you're into panoramas, then you need a couple other things. But at the very least, this is a really good addition to your bag if you like to do panoramas. Uh, Another ball head. This has a pretty good size ball head. Another 40 millimeter ball head. But you'll notice that the base is a little bit smaller. So this fits a little better because it's round, right? And it comes down to a smaller base. So this fits better on smaller tripods, but then it gives you the capacity of up to 22 pounds. So this is an interesting ball head design. And it also looks like it might be, I can't tell from this, but it looks like you can rotate the top separate. Let me see if they explain that. They don't really show it exactly. But they imply here that you can rotate the head after you level it. So again, this would be an awesome panorama. So yeah, that's what that's what that additional ring is for. So this is another option, right? It doesn't have to be inverted to do the same thing the other one did, and this one's cheaper. And it has the same size ball head, so I don't know. It's a tough call between the two. It just depends which design you like better. Either one of these will be good. The one I showed before or this one, the Fanu. You can go this way. This has a bigger knob on the side, so it's probably easier to use. And the quick release. Whereas this one, this also has the quick release, but this is more for QR plate type stuff. I think if you want to use like a regular Arca Swiss, you might have to, let me see. You might have to remove these two locking pins here. Some Arca Swiss plates you can put in with these already there, but a lot of Arca Swiss plates, you'd have to remove this screw and this screw if that's, it looks like you can because there's a hex wrench inside. But yeah, this is not a bad option for 35 bucks. That's a pretty good deal. And then more standard ball head. This on sale with the coupon for $21. There may be another 10% off here. But a little smaller ball head, 38 millimeters, but it still has a pretty good weight capacity. And it's high quality. This is an exceptionally good, well-made ball head. I have a version of this from another manufacturer, but I'm very, very happy with this ball head. And I think I paid about $21 because I waited till it was on sale. But this is a good ball head. So if you just need it, this doesn't have the panorama type rotator on the top. But if you don't care about that, this is a really good deal. And it's a quality ball head. Okay, and then I see a question. So you did Astro back in the film days. Yeah, that I can't imagine doing it with film because you have to consider the long exposure film. You have to calculate differently than just going by ISO aperture, right? Or yeah, sand beige bag. That's right. Yeah, that'll go great with the OM5 Mark II in sand beige. I'm still thinking about getting that in sand beige. I just like the color. And then Heather's asking on the newer ball head, what are the different versions? Oh, okay. So they're just totally different. So this is just a smaller ball head, 36 millimeters, but no rotator, and it's a standard Arca Swiss plate. The GM41, let's see. This one is a quick release, but it's only for the QR plate. You would not be able to use an Arca Swiss plate at all. Whereas the other one, it looks like, oh, sorry. This one here, the GM41, is basically the same thing, but a different clamp, right? This is a QR plate only, and it's a quick release QR plate. So you wouldn't be able to use a regular Arca Swiss plate with this, as far as I can tell. Yeah, it has this button release here. It looks like you could use a standard Arca Swiss plate on this as well. And it has a spring-loaded locking clip instead of the screw-in. But between the two, they're basically the same otherwise. I would just get this one instead and just remove those screws if you use standard Arca Swiss type plates. Okay, the GM36 is just a little smaller ball head, no rotating head. So it's not ideal. I think for the money, I would rather get this for $21. Has a bigger ball head, so it's going to have bigger weight capacity. I know this is a good ball head. And then what's the 28? 28 is just even smaller. 28 millimeter. This is not much use. This will be fine for like smaller cameras, but this is a little bit too lightweight. It only has a 6-pound, 6.6 pound or 5 kilo capacity. That's not much. It's enough for a lot of things, but it's not, it's better to get a 40 millimeter or 38, something in this range. These sizes are better. 36 is kind of the borderline that I would buy for holding my typical setup. It might be my 300 f4. It's borderline 300 f4, but it could do it. It could work, right? But this would definitely be more comfortable. These 40 millimeter ball heads would definitely be no problem with the longer lenses, and smaller lenses obviously no problem. But that's the main difference. It looks like in just the way, and this uh, doesn't have the independent rotation on the top either, right? So this wouldn't be good for panoramas. So I would definitely go for the other one. Otherwise, they look the same, but I would definitely go for this because it has the independent rotation here. All right, a couple of tiny flashes on sale, $10, pretty decent guide number, and it's full manual. So if you just want a small flash for $10, I don't see anything wrong with this. It's got to be AAA though. Yeah, this does two AAA batteries. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, and then it also has S1, S2, so you can use this off camera with another flash. I didn't, for 10 bucks, I can't complain. Here's another one. It's $3 more. Uh, this one is not quite as bright. It's a GN12, but just a little different style. This one has an LCD like display on the back. So it's still a full manual flash. It just has your battery level and everything up front. So you can pay a little more and just get this panel. I kind of like the other one better with the dial. I prefer the physical dials. If I'm going to go full manual, I would prefer a physical dial. And this has more light output anyway. It's going to be a little bigger, but I think this is a better flash than the other one. But if you like little LCD panel and push button, then and it's a little smaller, uh, you can get this one. Okay. Close all these down. Now, I looked at some cameras and lenses that might be on sale. The 150 to 600 is on sale, and they're going to throw in the dot eyesight. This is a good deal for this lens when they include the dot eyesight. Uh, Otherwise, I would go to the home system outlet and buy this refurbished, this whole lens setup. But yeah, the dot eyesight is kind of useful. I mean, after a while, I've gotten good at just picking the camera up and getting the bird in frame without using one of these. But these are more useful where, you want to look outside the frame and see what's coming. So maybe more like multi-person sport action type photography where there's multiple subjects that you want to keep track of at once. Then having a dot eyesight can make a big difference for that. And for a lot of people, the dot eyesight is easier to use than, you know, trying to just do it like I do, where you just pick it up and you can get the bird in the frame if you do birding. Uh, okay, this is now I reviewed the 7 Artisans version of this lens. It's pretty good. Um, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with this lens for $99. And it comes in micro four thirds mount, X mount, RF mount. If you put this on a full frame camera, because it is an APS-C lens, you will get some pretty heavy vignetting. But if you crop if you do in-camera crop of like 1:1, you'll still get vignetting in the corners, but it's not as bad, and it gives you sort of a vintage look on a full frame camera. But on APS-C, excuse me, you won't get any vignetting. It's super fast. I'm thinking about picking one up because the one I had was for Sony, but I don't have one for my Micro Four Thirds or my Fuji. But this will work great on either one. For Micro Four Thirds, it'll give you standard focal length of 50 millimeter equivalent. Then on Fuji or APS-C, it's going to give you like a 35, closer to 40 millimeters. But it's a good lens. Wide open, it's a little soft, but then stop it down a little, it's perfectly fine. But, if you want kind of a vintage look, you shoot it wide open at 0.95. You get a little bit of a soft image, you get a little bit of vignetting, and the lens definitely has some character. And it's, $100 now. So this is not a bad deal. I should get this. I have to decide if I want it for my MFT or because I have a good 25 millimeter for my. I have to think about this for myself. So there's the Micro Four Thirds version. There's a couple other small lenses here. These are again manual focus, but it comes in L mount, Z mount, and E mount. The L and the Z mount are the best deal for $62. 18 millimeter f5.6. This is basically a body cap lens for full frame cameras, but it has a pretty wide field of view, right? 18 millimeters or 98-degree field of view. And I wouldn't worry about the aperture. It's fixed. It doesn't look like it's adjustable. Yeah, it's a fixed aperture. But that's fine. It's so wide, it's not going to be an issue. And you just manually focus. So I don't know, for 62 bucks, this looks like a lens that might have some character to it. It's not very expensive, and it's a wide angle lens. This is a good deal for, I have a set of this under a different brand name, but this is, I paid $23 for my set, but this is a really good deal. I use these mostly in my radio triggers that take AA and flashlights, things like that. Uh, you can use these in your flash, right? Flashes that take AA batteries, like a TT600. Just keep in mind the recycle time's a little bit slower with this style battery versus, say, the nickel cadmiums or certainly the alkalines. But these are really good. Other than a little bit slower recycle time at full power, most of the time you're not shooting at full power, but if you do, these are a little bit slower in recycling. But that's why typically I use these in my triggers and flashlights and not in my flash units. Most of my flashes are all lithium ion, you know, proprietary battery anyway. But I do have a couple of, like, a Nikon SB800 that I use these in. My TT600 I use these in, and they work fine. Just the recycle time's a little bit slower. And GoPro Hero battery for half price. These are kind of random things I found. Good deals on various types of batteries. So if you have a Sony or Canon or GoPro, uh, there's some good deals here for some generics. This is almost like getting the charger for free. So what I would do with this is I would put this charger in my car. I have a few of these in my car for my other cameras. Just in case I want to charge things on the go. And they're throwing in a couple of spares. The thing with these, particularly Sony's spare batteries, you have to be a little careful when you put them in. After about a minute, the Sony will come up with a warning message saying, this battery is not compatible. Are you sure you want to use it? So you click OK and you're fine. But then you lose the battery level meter in camera. So you never know when your battery's going to die. But, so what I'll do is I'll use my OEM battery, the original battery that came with the camera, until it dies. And then I'll use one of these if I have to. Uh, but I look at it like, you get a couple of spare cheapo batteries with the charger. You keep the charger in your car. You keep the batteries in the house. And you charge these batteries using, your OEM charger. Or you charge these two batteries and you don't need to bring the charger in your car. But I keep a couple of these in my car typically. And it's only $15. Some half leather cases. Some of these I think these $10 ones are fake leather. This one, yeah, even this one is fake leather. The Hogue case, I've talked about these. This filter's on sale. I talked about this one last week. Someone asked me about filters. I was talking about these sort of fancy special effect type filters. I only buy these when they're on sale. I thought about buying this one because yeah, I should just get this. What size is, I gotta look at the filter thread though. This is 77. Wow. I think that's okay because most of the time I just hold the filter in front of the lens. I don't actually mount it. I just hold it in front and move it around. So yeah, I'm gonna add this. Okay. Here's a 58 millimeter 10 stop filter on sale. If you don't need a case and the other filters, let's say you bought one of the ND64 type kits, right? But you don't have an ND1000. You can just buy it separately here, right? And it's the 58 millimeter. The other sizes aren't too expensive, but the 58 is on sale, and that's a good deal for a 10 stop. No deals on antelope batteries, John. I'll double check. All of the adapters are still on sale. They have some other versions on sale, so look for this brand. But just here's an OM to, so if you want to mount your old vintage OM lenses to your Fuji, you want to mount 39 millimeter, like some old Leicas, to your Micro Four Thirds. Here's another Micro Four Thirds mount adapter, Konica. I mentioned these last week. And then the last thing I'll get to here, let me just double check. Yeah, this stuff I've talked about, all this stuff. Uh, I talked about this in the very beginning, so I've had this since last week, basically. So far, so good. And this is a killer deal. This is half the price of anything you'll buy from any other manufacturer. And so far, I'm not having any issues. So for $37, maybe get the 128 for $21. You know, it's not that expensive. And it's a very fast card, and I think it'll be reliable. I mean, the reviews here are pretty good, but so far so good for me. And that's basically all I have for today that would be new. There's a couple other lenses down here on sale. The 45, the 20. Oh, I didn't go to eBay. Um, let me pull up. There's some really good deals on eBay right now. I have my eBay link down below as a reminder. Uh, where's yeah, this thing. The outlet sale. Oh my God, the 90 macro, here's the 150 to 600 for 1700. The 90 macro, I almost pulled the trigger on that this morning. Almost. And then I was like, well, maybe the 150 to 600 instead. I can't afford both. I got to pick one. I'm deciding between these two myself. But everything here on the top row is a good deal. Let's see, everything here on the second row, excellent deal. All these lenses are really good prices. So if you were thinking about any of these lenses, you should get these. Like this 75 to 300. You know, I just did a bunch of backyard birding with this, you know. 75 to 300, 75 to 300, 75 to 300. You know, I did all these images with that lens, you know, because I couldn't leave my house, so I just did some backyard birding. But look at the detail, you know. Of course, I'm processing with DxO and I'm getting the most out of it, but you can get amazing images, you know, out of this lens, even for birds in flight, like this little chickadee, you know. Um, these are all 75 to 300 shots. Amazing the detail. And this is at ISO 8000, okay? I mean, DxO has a lot to do with it, but I'm at ISO 8000 with a $350 lens on a Micro Four Thirds system, and I got this shot. You know, pro capture, all of that. And this goes back to why, you know, I love Micro Four Thirds in general. But eBay, all of those are amazing deals on the lenses. The camera bodies, I think the camera bodies are a little bit spotty. Like, this is a good deal for an EM10, but I would wait. There are much better cameras these days, you know. Uh, Not at this price, actually. At this price, this is probably the best camera you can get. But it's just a little bit too old. I wouldn't buy it. Amazing deal on the 60 macro. Yeah, the lenses are killer. $511 here. The 300 f4 Pro, 1919. That's a killer deal. You know, the 100 to 400, that's an okay deal. I've seen them brand new for that price, but when they're on sale. TG7 for 307. Yeah, amazing. 8 to 25, 700, amazing. 14 to 150, I'd skip, unless you need weather sealing. This is a great replacement for the kit lenses because it has weather sealing. But optically, it's no better than the kit lenses like the 14 to 42 and the 40 to 150. Optically, it's about the same, but it has weather sealing. So this is and this is just one lens. You can replace both those lenses with this one. Good deal on the Pancake here. It's a power zoom. That's fair. That's a fair deal, not a great deal. This is a good deal. 351. Because they added splash proof to it. The 14 to 150 again. There's some overlap here. I wouldn't buy this here for 255 because right now it's on sale brand new for 275. The 1.2s I'd skip unless you need it. If you need a 1.2 lens, you need it, and you just buy it. But for most of us, I wouldn't recommend that lens. The 40 to 150, no question. Definitely get that for 128 if you don't have it. So the 75 to 40 to 150, the 12 to 45 for 450, that's fair. That's fair. OM1 Mark II with a 12 to 40, that's a good deal. That's a pretty good deal. Not super, but if you were thinking about this setup, that's a good deal. Because the camera alone, brand new, is more than that, right? Now you're getting the camera plus the lens for 1900. That's a good deal. A lot of overlap here. That's too much. 12 millimeter f2, I wouldn't pay that. I would get the... That's a fair price though, but I think, yeah, that's fair. And then on the next page, it's all overlap and some sound recorders. Oh, the 17. 17, 319, that's, it's okay. That's not a bad deal. It's fair price. Okay, and then there was one last thing on B&H, and I have a link to this down below, is the color checker. $89. This goes on sale once in a while, not very often. 2-3 times a year I'll see this on sale, and that's when you buy this. If you want to color calibrate your cameras, and particularly if you're using different cameras and different lenses at the same time and you want all the colors to match, this is the way to do it. But even if you're using a regular, just one camera, one lens, calibrating the colors can make a difference. Like on my LX100 Mark II, I was not crazy about the colors coming out of it. It's starting to grow on me, but originally I was like, oh, something's off on the colors. And I calibrated it using this. And it's all done in post-processing, so you have to have Lightroom or Photolab to use this to calibrate your camera. But then I was happy with the colors. It's very subtle differences, right? But for $89, it's really a nice little set. It's a nice tool to have in your camera bag, or not camera bag, but on your computer at home. All right, let me just check the chat section, but that about wraps up all the deals. Have I ever tried the Platyplot products? I've seen them. They have a ball head, inverted ball head, and they have like these plates so that you can put your, it's like these plates that are kind of supposed to be a tripod. Let me pull one up on screen so people know what we're talking about. Platypod. They emailed me a while ago to review their products, and I just declined. But yeah, they have these little plates that you can, like this plate lets you basically, here's an example, you know, it just lets you put your camera on the ground. I didn't see too much use for this personally, and for 150 bucks, I'm like, all right. So there's a couple of variations of that, right? There's a square one, there's a delta one. And then they have this ball head. This is on sale for 189. Uses batteries. They last forever, but it uses batteries. It's basically an inverted ball head design, and it has a digital leveling system, right, built in. What I didn't like about this is, let's see if there's a better picture. I guess this is as good as any. But to tighten and loosen the the ball head, you have to push these buttons up and down, right? So I forget which is which. One tightens, one loosens. That was just weird to me. This was supposed to be a game changer, and if you watch the reviews on this, you'll hear that word a lot, game changer, right? But yeah, I just thought it was a little awkward in the workflow. And then the digital part, the digital leveling here, I guess that works okay. I don't know. I didn't try that. But let's assume it's accurate, okay? Then once you get this level, you have a separate rotating head. So it's great for single row panoramas. But why does it keep getting bigger? This inverted ball head design, great for single row panoramas, but ultimately the for multi-row panoramas, it has the same limitations, right, that all these inverted ball head designs have. So you have to get a fluid head style if you want to do multi-row panoramas. But for single row, this is perfectly fine. But I, you know, this seems like a bit overkill for me. Even at $189, I don't know if I would spend that much for this. Because we just saw on my deal page a $50 inverted ball head design. So instead of having push buttons, the $50 one is just dials. And I just prefer that workflow. And the built-in leveling meter is gimmicky to me in the sense that, your camera has a built-in leveling meter. Maybe it's not as precise as this one, but for all intents and purposes, your in-camera leveling meter will work almost as well. But, maybe this one's more accurate. But when you have to get that precise with your leveling and pitch and horizon, you probably want to get a gear head, you know, where you got very, very precise control over the pitch and horizon. Then a gear head makes more sense. So to me, the whole concept is just overkill with the digital level meter and the push button thing. It just, I don't know. And it's not a lightweight ball head, right? It's pretty heavy. I think it has a pretty decent load capacity. About 22 pounds. Excuse me. But yeah, these things are all just a little bit pricey for what they are or what they can do for me. They have a few other accessories here. I don't see anything. Yeah, I really don't see anything here those are parts. nothing here really interests me. Even this ball head, this is just a rebranded ball head, in my opinion. Maybe it's not, but it looks like a rebranded one of the one I just showed you on my deal page. That was half the price. Okay, so that's my thoughts on Platypod. Like meh. And Heather says, OM is trying to get rid of anything with the Olympus brand, so those prices are very low. Doesn't seem to be a difference between Olympus branded versus the OM correct. No, there's no difference. Sometimes the OM's one have new coatings, like new lens coatings, so they say. But yeah, I don't think it's worth the difference in price, in my opinion. And John says that price on the OM1 Mark II with lens is the reason the Ricoh GR4 makes no sense to me. Too many alternatives. Yeah. I mean, putting price aside, the GR4 is a very unique camera, but there's so many other options at lower prices. Yeah, that's that's a price to pay. Chris Nichols seems to think they're going to sell out like crazy. Maybe they will, you know. I'm just amazed at what people pay for things in general. You know, they just spend so much money on stuff that a GR4 monochrome, no big deal for them, right? They're willing to spend the money to get that exact camera. Uh, but yeah, I can't do it. I'm with you on. We're on the same page. And the Gray Vanzini says, I may go for a backup 75 300. Love that lens for the price. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that lens you'll always be able to get for around $400, whether used or on sale. So I don't see by having two at the same time. But I mean, if it was like $200, I may buy a second one, right? But for 350, that's close enough to what I see that price. It's close enough to the $400 that I see that lens sell for all the time. But I don't think I would get a second one now. Uh, but that's just me. Okay. So it looks like I'm all caught up with the chat. I've covered all the deals I want to cover. So I'll give a minute for any other questions that you guys might have. But other than that, that kind of wraps up my shopping day. Um, lots interesting stuff. Hopefully some of that was helpful to you guys. But all right, we'll call it. I don't see any other questions. I know there's a delay on the chat, but if something comes up while I do my outro, but I want you guys to have a great week, great weekend, great life, eat healthy, exercise, and I'll be back on Friday for my photo editing stream, Sunday for my normal photo chat, and also I have a lot of people lined up for my annual Micro Four Thirds meetup. Lots of people, and somebody new, maybe a couple of new people. I'm still working out with the schedule with them, but look forward to the annual meetups in February, and I will see you guys again